Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting. We will begin recording the meeting now. Okay, we are recording the Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, March 2nd. We're calling things to order at 10:03. To start off our meeting, we are going to ask to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you please say it with us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much. We are going to move into public comment for any items that do not appear on today's meeting agenda. Please feel free to unmute yourself and you can offer public comment at this time for items that are not on the agenda. Is there any public comment at this time? Okay, seeing no one here for public comment for items not on the agenda, we will take public comment on each item as it's under consideration. We will move to our meeting minutes from Tuesday, February 23rd. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the Tuesday, February 23rd meeting minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, do so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Going into COVID-19 planning and response, we have nothing on the agenda. Margaret, anything we needed to add today to discuss?
No, I would just remind everyone that the AMI testing site reopened this morning for the month of March. It's opened at 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you for that reminder, Margaret. We will head into contracts, and we have an amendment to our agreement with CEDACOG for the COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program grant. And we would want to note that. Margaret, anything that we needed to discuss on this before taking action?
No, just this is an amendment to the agreement approved last week by the Board of Commissioners, and it does allow for and provides compensation reimbursement to them for the administration of the checks that are being cut to the different hospitality businesses. So it changes the contract by a small amount of money based on that additional ask.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other discussion, questions on this? We took action on the contract itself last week, but in terms of the amendment we have before us today, any discussion on this?
No, just glad to see it moving forward. I know we're already starting to get questions from our local hospitality businesses, and as is laid out in the act, CEDACOG will have the online application up and running by the 15th of March.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of businesses that are really challenged right now, and so the quicker we can get the money out, that would be, I think, very beneficial to everybody in our community.
Okay, certainly agree and concur. We look forward to working with CEDACOG and getting the message out there about how businesses that can apply for this grant to get their applications in. So we would look then for a motion to approve the contract amendment with CEDA Council of Governments.
Motion to approve the contract amendment with CEDACOG.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, we will move into our human services items and welcome in for adult services, Faith Ryan. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having me this morning. Our first agenda item today for approval is the amendment to our agreement with the Department of Community and Economic Development, or DCD, for our Emergency Solutions Grant through the CARES Act, which is the ESG-CV. We had requested on February 9th and received your approval to reallocate $115,500 from the Homeless Prevention Program over to Rapid Rehousing. We have found that the homeless prevention piece of the program is very challenging to spend down as the eviction moratorium continues to be extended and as we also have other rental assistance opportunities. However, we are seeing an increased need amongst people that have become literally homeless at this time to be able to rapidly rehouse them. So that is how we would plan to use those funds. So this is just the contract amendment from DCD, and once that's approved, we can get started.
Okay, any questions on that first item before we move on to the second one? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to the second one then, Faith.
Okay. So the second agenda item here for approval is the Center County Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or ERAP for short, to the Department of Human Services, which we have to have submitted by Friday the 5th. This project total is $10,680,110.74. It's federal funding through one of our most recent stimulus packages to provide rental and utility assistance to Center County residents. So very briefly to talk about our plan, at this time, we will be working with Service Access Management, or SAM, as well as internal staff to develop the capacity to process the applications that we will receive for this assistance, and to also provide case management services to people that are high need or request the service. We, of course, as you can imagine, with that price tag and of course the need that's in the community, we expect a high submission rate. So like I said, we are working internally at this time to figure out how we want to plan for logistics, how we're planning to manage our high call volume. And I think between the internal staff that we're in the process of hiring, as well as the staff through SAM, we will be in pretty good shape. It will also allow us the ability to shift people around as needed, depending on the level of need in our community. Just a little overview of what the programming is available for. It's for rent arrears, future rent, so it could be up to 3 months. And after that 3-month period, households would need to be recertified for assistance, and utilities. It can help households up to 12 months, as far back as March 2020. And the program goes until the end of this calendar year. And it's also really important to note that we have to help them with their arrears or their unpaid rent or utilities prior to serving them with anything for the future. And it's also not a reimbursement program. So unfortunately, if we have households that have struggled to pay their utilities or rent, but have made it happen or work through savings or credit cards or whatever the option was, we can't reimburse, but we can certainly look to helping them in the future. With this program, there is no cap, which is wonderful. So there is no capped amount as to how much we can provide, as there was with our most previous rent relief program. It just, of course, has to match what the bill is. The income limit is the 80% of the area median income. So just to give you a little idea of what that looks like, in Center County, for a 1-person household, that's $49,700. For a 4-person household, that's $70,950. And we would, of course, be looking at the current or the previous income, depending on when the need is requested. And so for many people, they'd have to prove that there was some sort of impact, whether they're receiving unemployment or they did receive unemployment, they had some sort of reduction in their income. But we have a lot of ways to be able to look and see at how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted them directly or indirectly, making them unable to pay those bills. At this time, we want to share with the community that our website that we had used previously for CARES rent relief has been revitalized. The information on there is very basic at this point, but we will be continuing to update it as we have more information. So folks can visit the centercountypa.gov/rent relief. Please keep updated, look at it, even weekly as we learn more information. We will be moving forward in the next couple of weeks with some pretty significant outreach to our community partners, municipalities, landlords, and other entities that might be able to benefit from the program, or also reach out to those that they know need the assistance. The last thing I'll say is that we will continue to do some outreach efforts like we did with CARES rent relief, where we will work to make paper applications available across the county, and also we're in a conversation now with some community partners about creating hubs in order to help people apply. Because it's similar to CARES rent relief, it will be the responsibility of the tenant and the landlord together to apply and submit through either the Compass system, which we will be trained on this week, or mailed to us via paper application. And those things can be very challenging for people to complete. And we want to be able to provide as much resources as possible so that their application is as full the first time, which makes processing a lot easier, and then they can get the assistance quicker. So with that, that is our plan at this time. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, thank you, Faith. And we had our second in-depth informational meeting work session yesterday regarding this, and it's a incredible amount of money for us to administer. And so as we lead into this third item there, you're going to, I think, discuss a little bit about our partnership with Service Access Management. But for individuals in the community that are our neighbors that would be able to apply for this, we're eager to start this, but we have to we ask for your patience as we just work out some of the final administrative and technical aspects of this. But it's moving quickly, and the assistance that we've been granted through the federal government is certainly on its way out to our community members. So appreciate again all the work that's been done by everybody in our human services offices and adult services offices to get this to our citizens. So thanks again, Faith, for all the work on this. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So oh, sure. Go ahead, Mark.
I'd like to point out that up to this point, the largest single grant ever administered by Center County government was the $5.5 million that we sent to our small businesses last year. This grant, if we award most, if not all of it, would now be the largest single grant in Center County history. This one, I believe, is much more flexible than the original rental relief plan. As you mentioned, there are no caps on rent. There's no caps on the amount for utilities. So very, very roughly, I mean, if we've got something in the ballpark of $10 million available, even after a lot of the administrative costs, if the average family eventually received maybe $10,000 in rental relief and relief for utilities, isn't that roughly 1,000 families that we could help with $10 million?
Yeah, I think some of our initial calculations were a range of 8 to 1,000 because certainly we're gonna encounter families that don't necessarily need 12 months and others that do, and so that's usually where the range comes in. But yes, it's a significant number of people that we would be able to serve. And
as Commissioner Pike mentioned, this was only signed by the governor, I think, roughly 3 weeks ago. We're still awaiting final guidance from the various state agencies, but as soon as we have that available, that website will be substantially improved. We'll take applications online through the Compass system. If you have difficulty with that or you don't have internet access, we'll work with a paper form. And I believe in this case, even if the landlord doesn't cooperate, there are possibilities of even getting monies direct to the individuals, correct?
That is in the state and the federal regulations. At this time, we have to work with our vendor on how we're going to be able to manage that. That's not a typical practice for most human service agencies, or even considered technically a best practice, but we do see the importance of it. And we did see how challenging that was for households in the previous program. So yes, that is in the regulations.
And as you mentioned, the income limits for this are relatively high, something almost $50,000 of provable income for a single individual, up to $70,000 for a family of 4. And, so anyone who worked in hospitality who now has either reduced income or no income, anybody on unemployment, anybody who was working, say, retail and had their hours substantially cut, even a small business owner who rents their residence, this would be open to a broad variety of people, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. That's wonderful. And let's get the word out, because I think the commissioners would really like it if we could give upwards of $10 million to our citizens who've been hurting during this pandemic. Thanks, Faith.
You're welcome.
And Margaret and Natalie and everybody's staffs.
Well, I will pass the thank you along. We've been working really hard. And as we've already discussed, I just have to say how proud I am of Center County and how proud I am of my department and all those that have helped us, because we are very fortunate to have so many people that are willing to come to our time and need to help us spend that funding. So transitioning into our last agenda item, Speaking of good partnership, we are looking to contract with Service Access Management, or SAM, to provide 2 services. The first is administrative service, or administrative assistance to us, which they have provided in the past through our CARES rent relief program, also our fair rental assistance, where they will process check and direct deposit for utilities and or landlords. The other program is through the Housing Stability Services portion. So at this time, they have identified 4 housing supervisors that will have reallocated duties to other staff in order to open up their time to help us process applications. And like I talked a little bit with the county plan, we want to make sure that we have individuals that are trained well, efficient, and focused on processing applications as quickly as possible. But we also know that there's going to be high need and a complexity of needs. And so that is when this agency would work with us to refer folks back to our office and work with our new caseworker to provide those additional services that people need so that their needs are met and the processing application continues to be as smooth as possible. You will see that the contract total here is half or substantially less than the total amount. It's $5,233,254.27. So what we did here is subtracted 2% out of the original allocation that's listed in item 2. That would be the adult services administrative cost that we would have. Then we divided that remainder by 2 and broke it out into all of the administrative pockets that they can access for both of those services, as well as what would be for direct rental assistance. The reason that we did that is because we will be receiving payments from the state in increments. So we're not sure exactly how much we're going to be receiving in the next week or so, and what that lump sum will be. And the program is also very fluid. So for instance, if there's another county, let's say, that is showing high need and the state sees that Center County or other counties aren't utilizing funding as quickly, they have the ability to move money around to meet the need. And that's not too dissimilar from our other grants. But because of the amount of money, we decided to start here, and it is built into this contract specifically, and of course is always available with our other contracts, that we would do a contract addendum if we spend beyond that $5 million. In the contract itself, the budget is actually for the 10 million figure. So we tried to go with a style that we did with our traditional providers this year, where we only had a 5-month state budget, where we did, at least in my department, we did a 12-month budget and a 5-month allocation, and then did contract addendums. So we felt like that would be the best practice with this particular type of grant. So again, because those numbers are different, I just wanted to clarify what our thought process was. And then, like I said, certainly if we spend beyond that amount, we can easily do a contract addendum at the end of the program.
Okay, thank you, Faith. And we do potentially have the opportunity to receive more funds if counties who are allocated funding do not spend theirs. And then we also know that there is more emergency rental assistance that's provided in the American Rescue Plan that's working its way through Washington, just passed the House this week, the U.S. House this weekend. So potentially even more funding could potentially come through this. But again, this is a start, roughly half. And so appreciate the context on this. Any other questions on item number 2 or 3 for discussion? Okay.
I want to give Steve a chance. Is there anything you want to say, Steve?
I'm good. I get it. I think it's a lot of money, and we're gonna struggle to spend what we've got here. So let's just make sure it gets into the hands of worthy individuals.
All right. So we have we would look then for a motion for items 1 through 3 in adult services.
Motion to approve items 1 through 3 in adult services.
We'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on those? Any other questions? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion has carried. Okay, thank you, Faith.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move into mental health, intellectual disabilities, drug and alcohol, and turn it over to Natalie. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning. So this is another round of the department doing contracts for the remainder of the fiscal year. So funding that really goes back to December 1st through the rest of the year, fiscal year June 30th, 2021, due to the state budget. And again, we have a good representation of our department. So Advocacy Alliance helps with our incident management and intellectual disability and does work for that for us. Crossroads Counseling is a provider for us that does drug and alcohol services, outpatient counseling, MAT services. And then UPMC and Sinclair are two of our early intervention providers and are able to provide services to our families in the community. And so all of these contracts reflect a full year of funding to be spent by June 30th, 2021.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. We'd look then for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the items for mental health, intellectual disability, and early intervention.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on those? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into our Planning and Community Development Office items, we will turn it over to Ray for the amendment to the item with CEDACOG. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Yeah, this amendment is for the Professional Administrative Service Agreement with CEDACOG. The Commissioners entered into an agreement with CEDACOG for coordination of our CDBG program, along with serving Bellefonte Borough as our on behalf of for the fiscal years 2016 through 2019. For this amendment, for the 2016 to 2019 service agreement, Bellefonte Borough we're taking their compensation out of that due to the fact that Bellefonte Borough is using their administrative funds for the Talleyrand Bridge project. So they were taking on administration on their own, and we needed to amend that original agreement to illustrate that. So this is the new amended agreement demonstrating only administrative services for Center County during that time period.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Any questions on that item? Okay, look forward to continue our partnership through CEDACOG with the Borough of Bellefonte. We look for a motion to add the contract to next week's consent agenda.
Yeah, happy to see that bridge being built. So motion to add the contract amendment with CEDACOG to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
We will then move into the transportation funding update, and we have several resolutions and items to discuss on that. And we'll welcome Ann and turn it over to her. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, everyone. I have a brief presentation that I'd like to share with you to orient you. All right. Do you see that?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
thanks, Ann.
All right, let me try to get, there we go. All right. So I just wanted to go over, actually it'll be quite a few things, so hopefully I won't go too fast. Trying to give an update of what has transpired in the last several months with our transportation funding program. So as you all know, the county's transportation program was established in 2017 and really has numerous pots of funds to use. And the original goals, and I think they still apply today, are enhancing the existing liquid fuels program, establishing a set aside of $5 registration fee to supplement liquid fuels, but also to pursue roadmap funding of up to $2 million. This helped launch the local bridge program, but it also gives us some flexibility when change occurs. Just as a refresher, fee for local use is this $5 registration fee on all vehicles in Center County, and it is really intended for supporting our transportation network, and that includes both highway and bridge for construction, reconstruction, and maintenance. This fee cannot be used on transit. So as part of the update, I wanted to kind of go back in time here for 2020, where we have expended funds. This has the expenditure started in 18, where we divided it between bridge and roadway. And we had a little activity last year where we had some reduced scope for some municipal projects. So that's why you see on the left-hand side some negative numbers. So as of the end of last year, we had allocated $958,454, which gave us a reserve of $792,566.38. On the right-hand side, you will see, and this is important later in my presentation, the bridge projects that we have supported. And as of this, as of 2020, we had allocated $723,000 toward county bridge projects. One of the things that we kind of had unresolved last year was discussion of supporting the Snowshoe Township project. We did not have enough liquid fuels. The number is just getting smaller each year. And I wanted to just remind the commissioners that at some point we need to see if we can support Snowshoe with the project they have for milling, paving, and scratch coat and shoulder work for their 2 roadways. We did provide $29,000 in liquid fuels, but we could not cover the entire cost of the project. As for fee for local use and roadmap, we have that $723,000 that's dedicated toward bridges, which helps us secure roadmap funds. But we need to find another $1.277 million for the full $2 million match. And so we can do that with swapping funds that were previously dedicated to our bridge bundles with fee for local use. And that gets us very close to that $2 million, as you will see later in my presentation. Staff is asking that we try to keep this moving because a notice to proceed is coming soon for the design of the bridges that we'll be discussing later in the agenda. But the timing is important because each bridge bundle has Act 13 funds in preliminary engineering. And PennDOT is asking that we exchange those funds with fee for local use prior to notice to proceed, so design can just get started and there's no additional delay. So that is part of what the resolution is to swap those funds, but also just kind of letting you know that we don't quite have enough funds to do the full swap of Act 13 with fee for local use. So we would probably be repeating this again at the end of the year, as well as the reserve fund that is part of the resolution. So just real quickly, I just wanted to highlight what we are seeing right now in terms of costs and where the swap would occur. As you can see, this bridge bundle in 2018 was 100% Act 13 funds. And so I went down the sponsor match list as far as I thought I should go in terms of swapping out funds. So we don't have to do this too often. So essentially swapping out $195,000 worth of Act 13 with fee for local use. For the 2019 bridge bundle, it was a mixture of Act 13 and fee for local use. Staff is suggesting preliminary and environmental clearance, which would be $250,000. But in researching the information, we found that there was an error somehow between the correspondence from us to PennDOT, where the blue star is. That $250,000 should have been Act 13, but for whatever reason, it was noted as fee for local use. So this is updating and correcting that item as well as part of the resolution. So the total commitment for fee for local use in this instance would be $725,000. So then what does that get us now? You will see that these are all of the projects that have been awarded fee for local use funds. And I just wanted to show what it would look like if the commissioners agreed to the swap, as well as future action for Snowshoe Township. So the total award would be the history of fee for local use. It would be $1,544,649. To date, we have received $751,020.38. If we subtract, we end up actually with a reserve of just above 200,000. So it is doable, these actions is what I'm trying to say. Just as kind of focusing on the bridge bundle is adjusting the bridge bundles, we would then be dedicating $1.243 million to bridges, and that gets us closer to the $2 million match for roadmap. We would, like I had said before, anticipate repeating this type of action at the end of the year. And with that, we would have 1.808 in fee for local use dedicated to bridges. And then we would have just under 200,000 that we would need to dedicate to bridges at the end of the year. Where do I think we'll find those funds? We are being told by District 2 that the bridge bundles, unfortunately, are seeing cost increases, and it is more than likely that we will match the bridge bundles. We will match the fee for local use through the bridge bundles to get that full $2 million. So the resolutions are really updating two resolutions that had been done in 19 to support the bridge bundles, both the 18 and the 19 bridge bundles, swapping those funds, but also creating a reserve for what we anticipate to be cost increases for both projects. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ann, for the review and for the work on this. We just wanted to, I think the big thing that we wanted to bring home is the fact that this is getting us closer to the $2 million in drawdown that we can achieve through the roadmap funding. In addition, we are potentially needing to do more to, again, draw down an additional or lock in that last $200,000. And I think the sooner we can do that and let PennDOT know that we basically just to let them know that we are going to be allocating that. It's just a matter of time at this point, finding out where the costs would be. But I think that's the most crucial thing that we're doing today in terms of the resolution. So I'm glad we're getting closer there. But no, I do not have any other questions.
Yeah. And I'd just like to thank yourself and Ray for the hard work on this. A lot of moving parts, very complicated. And unfortunately, there is a shortage of transportation dollars at this point. But the county is doing what it can here to try to help our local municipalities. I know of the bridges we've worked on so far, for at least 3 of them, they were the only way in or out of neighborhoods for our residents. And obviously, once a bridge is in poor condition, it's pretty much one inspection away from being closed. And if there's only one way in and out of your neighborhood and that way is now closed, you can't go home. You can't bring pretty much anything very heavy into your house. And probably your house would now have a value of almost nothing. So this is the county and the municipalities working together to keep and in some cases increase the quality of life for residents in Center County. So again, thanks for your hard work on this, and we're definitely going to try to pull down the full $2 million of state funding if at all possible. Thanks.
Thank you for your support.
And this is Steve. I just want to actually just say that a lot of these projects would be probably not accomplished or very much undoable if it weren't for the support of the county and the state. when you're talking about $1 million bridge project, which is almost inconceivable to me even 20 years ago, it seems to be the common number now, where we really have to, we have to help some of our local municipalities, or else these projects will not be accomplished, and literally will impact many lives throughout our county. So thank you for your hard work and making sure that these all get completed.
Thank you.
So, Ann, I think one thing would be good, just in terms of a comment, would be to maybe have a plan B when it comes to drawing down the rest of the $200,000, where if for some reason, hopefully this could be a potential, but if we do not see cost increases that would add up to 200,000, that we would have a plan B in place to draw that money down. So do you have any initial thoughts on what that could be? If not, we can always discuss it again when we get an update on these projects a little bit later on in the year.
Yes, I do have a plan B in mind. Still early days, so but we've been working with District 2 on what would be the next bridge or bridges that we have to address. And we actually have 3 bridges that are rising to the top of the list. We could use that remaining 200,000 as a match. And the reason I'm bringing that up is roadmap is federal funds. And so as part of that bridge project, we would need to provide roughly 20%, which based on what Commissioner Dersham has said, yes, we are looking at bridges in excess of $1 million, and we would very easily use up that 200,000.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ann. Yeah, I think that's important just to have, but glad that you're moving forward on that. Okay. All right. So we would then be looking at just at this time adding resolution 4 and 5 to next week's consent agenda, and then we can jump into the cooperation agreement. So would there be a motion for the resolutions?
Motion to add resolution number 4 and resolution number 5 of 2021 to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. And then just as we mentioned, the partnerships we have with each of these municipalities, it looks like we have 5 total cooperation agreements for each of the municipalities in which the bridges are located. Anything you wanted to say on these items, Ann?
Just real briefly, it's my understanding that the county enters into these agreements with each municipality. That's why there are 5. And this is really to establish the partnership before, during, and after construction. So it notes that the county is working with PennDOT to move these projects forward, and the municipality's role is to retain ownership and maintenance of the bridges once the projects are completed. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Ann. So we would look for the first set, which is with Miles, Curtin, and Spring.
Motion to add the cooperation agreements with Miles, Curtin, and Spring Townships to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. And then we have the second set of the 2019 bridges with Bellefonte and Howard. Would there be a motion for those cooperation agreements?
Sure. Motion to add the cooperation agreements with Bellefonte and Howard boroughs to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, and thank you again. We look forward to hearing from you in the future on these. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do not have a consent agenda today for approval, and we would go into our ABCs. We have 4 total. We have we have a reappointment for Adrian Eichenlob, and that's for the Industrial Development Authority and the General Authority for a 5-year term. And then we have a Planning Commission appointment for Andrea Pandolfi from Patton Township, And we also have an Agricultural Land Preservation Board appointment for Ralph Wieland as well. Would there be a motion to approve these appointments and reappointments?
Motion to approve the ABC appointments and reappointments.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, and we do not have a letter of support, liquid fuels, or administrator's report today. We will head into discussion items, and we will turn it over to Ray and Betsy for this discussion item.
Thank you, commissioners. Let me share the screen here for our presentation. We have that up there now.
Yes, we can see it. Yep.
Okay, great. So again, thank you for the opportunity to present this concept and possible program related to Act 137, County Housing Trust Fund. Today's presentation will include a brief outline of legislative framework behind Act 137, our trends in collection and program expenditures, and an outline of a proposed program that we would want to call Center Trust Fund Notice of Funding Availability. We're going to go over some eligible and non-eligible projects proposed within this program, some application criteria and other considerations to think about before this kicks off. Let me get started. So back in 1992, the Commonwealth, through Senate Bill 962, authorized that certain counties increase recording fees for deeds and mortgages to support and enhance affordable housing efforts. And specifically within that legislation, affordable housing efforts include any program or project approved by the county commissioners which increases the availability of quality housing, either through sales or rent, to any county resident whose annual income is less than 100 or less than the median income of the county. So following that, historically, the county commissioners of Center County authorized Ordinance 2 of 1993, the Affordable Housing Fund Ordinance, which became effective April 5th of 93, generated fees through deeds and mortgages. Currently, it's at $11.50 per transaction. And under the ordinance, 85% of the funds collected go to those programs serving households below the 100% Center County area median income. Now, HUD annually adjusts that number, and currently what we're looking at is $88,700. HUD further divides that number into cohorts of the number of family members within a household, and also into low and very low income numbers to demonstrate what we may see as far as a targeted population within Center County. 15% of the funds collected under the ordinance have been directed to be retained for administrative costs to run programs. Our next slide just indicates the past 3 years and the amount of receipts that we've received from the Recorder of Deeds. Linda Marshall, who was our previous housing coordinator, collected these fees each year. We go back all the way to 2006, which was the highest year for collection, which is around $139,897. Our lowest collection year was 2017, which is around $92,011.50. So you do see some fluctuations based on what's going on in the market. So in 2020, we had one of our higher years. Average Recorder of Deeds Act 137 receipts equaled about $9,233 for that year. And then for 2019 and 2018, they averaged somewhere around $7,800 per month for the collection of those receipts. So what are some of the examples we're looking at with regards to previous projects that have been supported or awarded through the program? Obviously, first-time homebuyers program is funded from the 137 program. And since 2006, 114 mortgages were processed for a total of about $1.2 million. In 2019 and 2020, those proved to be the highest first-time homebuyer program years, with 16 and 21 mortgages completed respectively. Since 2007, you'll see some other examples here where approximately $825,000 in Act 137 funds have assisted various housing entities within the county, whether it be support of the Center County Housing and Land Trust, some building projects such as the State College Community Land Trust Green Build, or the Temporary Housing Foundation, which was the most recent one we funded, the old Bullsburg Road Townhomes project. So establishing this more formalized program through Act 137 would still assist new and rehabilitated housing or land acquisition for housing to serve those individuals with a gross income of below 100% of the area median income. Again, the 88,700 is being that number. Eligibility under the program, we would propose that construction of new rental or owner occupied housing would be an eligible project. Acquisition or rehabilitation of a housing unit or units for resale or rent, and then land acquisition for a proposed project to be completed within a 2-year time frame. Pretty simple eligibility criteria to be established with this proposed program. Our application process is pretty streamlined as we propose, going down through some of the necessary information we would need from a potential applicant or requester of funds. Simple applicant information, describing their experience and ability to create an affordable housing opportunity. They would have to demonstrate the need, describe the population that they're targeting and serving, and document how that will meet the identified housing needs, and provide the number of housing units to be served. A project narrative giving us an idea of where, how, and when they will develop this project. Budget and how they're leveraging funding, not only with other state or county agencies, but also municipalities that may be contributing to the project as well. They would also provide us with a timeline and work plan for this application, and really targeting something that could be done within a 2-year time frame from the submittal of the application. We'd like to see the site control of the project, how it affects affordability for the long-term period of the project. If it's over $25,000 and the county's contributing Act 137 funds, that would incur Pennsylvania prevailing wage, making sure that they were compliant with that aspect of the project. Consistency is another important aspect of us taking a look at the application, see how the project fits within our affordable housing needs assessment from 2005, and also the Center County Comprehensive Plan, or even the local comprehensive plan, making sure that the project is in line with local land use regulations. And lastly, we would request a certification letter from the requester with the representative of the company that's the point of contact, certifying that the application is true and complete. And where there may be some time extensions necessary, we would know who to contact. And obviously, with those criteria in mind, we want to determine that the request meets both the intent of Act 137, Ordinance 2, and also serves the population that's being targeted under 100% AMI. These are some of the criteria that we would be looking at as a result of the submitted application. And important, the capacity to complete the project to serve those targeted populations. What would be ineligible would be basically the soft costs of architectural, engineering, and finance, and legal fees, and pre and post construction expenses. Those populations that are above the 100% threshold would be ineligible as well. We want to make sure that this money is directed towards affordable housing and that population of below 100%. Just some other considerations that we need to work out before the commissioners would consider such a program. The maximum funding request per project, if we had one. Recurrence of funding, is it going to be an annual opportunity for applications or biannual allocation for the program? When we get into the time frame of the application, is that a 30 or 60-day process upon submission that we would include an announcement? How we would notify potential applicants, the submittal deadline, and again, our review period, the approval and disapproval process. Within the program, we looked at also providing a grant agreement between Center County and the successful applicant. So we'd have some coordination with the county solicitor on establishing a template for a grant agreement. And then also getting the word out, county webpage, social media, getting the notice out. We'd want to establish some communication with the county and those possible applicants to potentially apply for this funding. I think that should conclude the presentation that I had today for the program.
Okay. Ray, thank you very much. In terms of the feedback that you would need in terms of these final items, it looks like, I mean, I think the big three would be the first three you're listing there. But in terms of I think so just to take a step back, I think the big thing with this is these funds are generated by individuals here in Center County. When again, there's transactions fees, we really want to be using this money to benefit affordable housing as part of the original intent of the program that was passed several decades ago. And I think the big thrust behind this is to make sure that as many developers know about this program as possible so that we can encourage these type of projects to be built and also offset some of the costs from local developers. And so, but in terms of just some general feedback on a maximum funding request per project, funding frequency, and then the process itself, are there any recommendations regarding those or any other programs or that we've seen throughout the state in terms of some of those items? I think that the two that I'd be maybe curious to start with would be the maximum funding request and then the reoccurrence of funding frequency, if that's something that you've seen or heard of any ways to go about that.
That's something that we can research further and pretty quickly, because there are a couple programs. I know, when Linda Marshall was the coordinator, a lot of the basis for this program was built by her, and she looked at some other models. So Betsy and I could definitely look at some of those examples and draw from those as far as what other counties are doing. But I think, there's a lot of moving parts with Act 137, whether everyone knows it or not, with regards to the income that we receive, the satisfactions that we receive from homeowners that have moved on from their first-time homebuyer grant, and then the other awards that we consider or have considered in the past through the program. So we'll have to take a look at some other programs that we can draw from, I think, on those top three.
Okay, and I think, the first round that we do this, or the first notice of funding announcement that we do, could always include the fact that we are still considering those, and it's up to our discretion. But I wouldn't want to hinder getting the word out about this or starting to alert people to the funding. If we don't know of any certain levels or time frames that have been set. But in terms of the process of what that looks like, I think with other projects we've done or other notices of funding where there's a window of time and submittance of deadlines, FAQs or presentations to local developers about the program, I think that'd be certainly capable. The Planning and Community Development Office could certainly handle that. But no, I think we're very close to getting this out there and alerting people to it and making it a more transparent, open process. But appreciate the presentation today. Open it up for any other questions or discussion.
Well, Ray and Betsy, I'm pleased to see that we actually beat the 2019 record in 2020 with 21 families assisted. I know over the last few years, I've worked hard with Linda Marshall to advertise this program, especially for our young families. But as you mentioned, Ray, we now have so many of these first-time home buyer grants out there that as people sell their homes, refinance, et cetera, that money is now coming back into the trust fund, and we need to get it back out again. So I'm overall pleased to see that we're looking at new opportunities for affordable housing in Center County. But to Commissioner Pipe's point, I would like us to do a little bit more research on best practices for other counties in terms of maximum award amount and how often we would make the awards. But yeah, in general, I'm very supportive of whatever the county can do to improve the affordable housing throughout the county. I know that's always been a concern in the center region. And now that Bellefont's appreciation percentages for real estate actually exceeds that of State College, prices in Bellefonte are also beginning to rise noticeably. So yeah, let's cast a wide net and look at several areas throughout the county. Thanks.
Yeah, this is Steve. I think you're on the right track. One of the conversations that I think we need to have before we implement any program is having some mechanism for county-initiated programs. It's great to help fund all these private developers, but traditionally this has always been there's been some discretion about programs or projects that the county has wanted to move forward on. So I think we need to have a conversation about that before we put this to ink.
And that would be, Commissioner Dersham, related to acquisition of properties that could be utilized for housing. Would that be the thinking?
That would be one possibility. I'm just thinking, you don't know what you don't know. And as opportunities present themselves moving forward, I think we need to maintain the flexibility to be able to act on those opportunities, in the future. So I would just say we need to have a little bit more conversation in regard to county use of those funds as well.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay. And in terms of the next, and I would agree, I think I would also concur with that there would be things that we would want to be utilizing. And I think that the thing that we're probably all in agreement with is we wouldn't be looking to draw down all the funds. We would certainly want to keep a reserve available if there were things that the Board of Commissioners would want to initiate themselves. But this would just be to allow multiple people and developers in the area to know about this, and also to attract potential investment from outside the community as well. But so in terms of next steps, Ray, where would you see the next us going from here in terms of moving this forward?
I think if Betsy and I get a chance to research some of these questions with regards to the other programs, maybe put a proposed timeline together for an application process for the commissioners to consider. I think that would be a next step to maybe move forward with.
That sounds great. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So we would look forward to seeing a schedule with timeframes and maybe some other information about how other counties package this, and we'll go from there. But great. That's great. Excellent. Okay. Any further discussion or questions on this? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it very much. And we will go on with our agenda and go into our check run and turn it over to Commissioner Higgins.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mike. So let me pull up the proper page here. The check run today is a very small one of $224,528 and excuse me, 52 cents. The check of the week, it's a couple checks, but it's to Out of the Cold Center County, a great group, works primarily with the homeless in Center County. And I know they're moving on nailing down a permanent site just off of downtown State College. The total checks to them this month were $28,032 even. So would like to move that we approve the check run dated February 26th.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the check run. Any further discussion on the check run? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of approving, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Moving into CNET requests, we have a request to transfer sponsorship of 5 programs for the Central Pennsylvania Civil War Roundtable from last year, 2020, to this year of 2021. They were canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we'd be looking to approve the request to transfer. Is there a motion to approve the transfer?
Motion to approve the request to transfer sponsorship for the Central Pennsylvania Civil War Roundtable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. And then we'll turn it over to Commissioner Dersham for a voter registration report.
All right, good morning. We have, as of this morning, 105,174 registered voters in Center County. There's 44,119 Democratic registrants, 140 Green Party, 692 Libertarian, 13,955 no affiliation, and 42,381 Republicans, when added to the 3,887 other party members. That is down 16 registrants from last week's total. The featured party of the week is the Blank Party in Center County. And the Blanks have 3 members. So we'd like to recognize the Blank Party in Center County with its 3 members. I'd also like to recognize precinct number 13, which is Port Matilda Borough, and they voted the Port Matilda Fire Company. And in the last election, there were 374 total registered voters, 301 ballots cast, and the percentage of turnout then is 80.48%. So pretty decent turnout for precinct number 13 in Port Matilda. I also want to recognize the folks that make it happen for precinct number 13. The judge of elections is Ida Lively. The minority inspector is Sandra Meek. The majority inspector is Gloria Reese, and the clerks are Louis Lawley Jr., Mark Lively, and Catherine Neal. And we want to thank everybody, and again, thank the fire company for allowing us to use their facility, and we'll see you very soon. So that's my report for this morning.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We will see if there's any executive sessions that we need to report at this time or hold.
No executive sessions to report and no executive sessions to hold.
Okay, all right, thank you, Margaret. We have the balance of our schedule and some announcements for the upcoming election. Any questions from the press at this time before we adjourn? Okay, seeing and hearing no questions from the press, we would look for a motion to adjourn at 5 after 11.
Motion to adjourn at 11:05.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.